Okay, record like take 85 because I forgot to press record 2 times. Like that, or like I ended the recording early. I don't know what's going on. First off, guys, thank you for the amazing support on the mag video. I was expecting very low watch time on that video, and I was met with the complete opposite of over double what my average watch time is on my video. So I am very appreciative of that. Uh, Remember, you guys can absolutely use timestamps on videos like that. I will not take offense to it, as 90% of people don't need 90% of the knowledge in that video that I'm providing. And I know it's probably a pain to watch because I felt like I was having a stroke the entire time. But that is a video type that I will continue doing. It was one I was going to continue doing anyways because I was advised by friends to do it in the first place. And I have friends that would like to learn more from it. I will absolutely be taking suggestions in the future. This is not a video type you can expect more than like twice a month. And I'd say even that's generous, so cut me some slack on those videos. They are going to be long, and I'm balancing school at the same time, so it's less like something I can just throw out, because it's not like a build I already have on a Warframe, or it's a bit of a labor of love. So, but thank you guys for supporting that. Next one is going to be Protea. I don't know when that's going to be out. I will start work on it eventually, but I have a bunch of other stuff lined up first. Okay. On to today's video. Today's video is going to be a normal video, and it is going to be about Oraxia. This was recommended by Whammy Wham. In the Trinity video, they suggested that I do a video on Oraxia. And good news, I went ahead and cut that off. It would be right there, but it's just not there. But Whammy Wham, thank you. I will be mentioning you in the description of this video just as a thanks. So, yeah. Thank you for supporting the channel and commenting. Okay. But Oraxia. Oraxia is a really interesting frame. We can't talk too much about how interesting she is because this isn't a deep dive, and I could go on for an hour about how interesting she is. But we're going to be talking about something far more interesting in this video than just her base kit, which is a crazy interaction found by someone called, who their name is Kaylee, in Kai's Discord server and in Kai's Discord community. Wow, that is so whitewashed. I don't even know if you guys can read that. Basically, go ahead and do one of these actions. They have a Nova guide. And I was reading through their Nova guide, and I saw this, and I read about it. This is something that Kai had already covered, but I wasn't really fully sure how it was working. Also, just big shout out to Kaylee, and thank you, Kai, for covering it too and getting it out there and kind of getting the gears turning. I'm probably not the first person to show this off. Definitely not the first person to show off the Cold Elemental Ward interaction, but I don't know about on Oraxia in particular. But yeah, huge big ups to Kai. Kai's awesome. Absolutely go subscribe to Kai. But Cold Elemental Ward Spinnerex. Let's talk about this, because this is what this video is about. This is the helmet of choice in this video. I did a video on this interaction on Saren, and it's what got my gears turning. Like, well, hold on, what about on Oraxia? Because Oraxia is doing the same thing, like imbuing my weapon with Toxin. And there's also a really strong weapon for doing all this type of stuff, which is the Kuva Sobek. I know that's pretty boring. Kai shows off a more interesting option, in my opinion, using the Galaxian in his video. I'd absolutely totally watch his video on Saren. I can link that in the comments. But let's talk about it. Elemental Ward, when I pop this, is going to release a wave of cold on enemies. That wave of cold is counted as melee damage, and then your companion can inherit that melee damage, and if it is an electricity status that they are doing, then they can proc melee influence. This allows us to take advantage of special abilities of melee weapons. Specifically, the Spinnerex has a 10% chance on death of enemies to release all the toxin status effects on that enemy as explosion damage. That explosion damage can scale with elemental mods and base damage mods and banes and status damage. And we're going to show off all that in further detail, but I just wanted to talk about it real quick. And Little tiny demo, if we can get it to happen. That little green explosion effect that you see like pulsing out of enemies is the Spinnerex going off. Very cool stuff there. Okay. So that is the interaction explained in a very small way. If you want a deeper explanation, Kaylee's document here on the Nova Guide will be posted inside. I would just give this a read, guys. If you want to deepen your knowledge in a lot of ways, I would totally give this a read. Constantly getting updated because, I mean, look, you have right here Vidara Prime, and then Vidara Prime got patched, and that's already updated. Kaylee's amazing. Besides that, let's talk about something crazy going on with Banes on this build. I'm going to let Kai take it from here because I think he can explain it better than I can, and I'm not going to manipulate his words. This is their discovery. I'm going to let them talk about it. Let's go back a couple seconds here.
So, consider this. Your initial hit on an enemy will dip with the Bane once. Toxic Lash will also on its initial hit dip on the Bane again. The Toxic Dot will dip on the Bane and these Emerald Shards. The Spinnerex Explosion will trigger the dips on the Bane. The Spinnerex Explosion Dot will dip on the Bane and the Toxic Shards. The Spinnerex Explosion Toxic Lash hit, because the Lash will apply to the Spinnerex's passive explosion, will dip on the Bane, and the Toxic Lash Dot, not the Spinnerex's one, that comes from that previous hit, will dip on the Bane and the Toxin status shards. If you couldn't count, that is 7 times that we are dipping on the Bane.
So it's a septuple dip. If you guys are not using a Bane on this build, you are at a severe detriment. And that's why we're not using one in this video, guys. Hit a thumbs up button for using bad builds that don't use Banes, because I don't like using Banes. You guys want to take advantage of that fantastic knowledge, use Banes. We're going to talk about really quickly where I would replace Banes. Take off this for a Bane. Take off this for a Bane. Okay. Let's also talk about this. I would absolutely take off Merciless Gunfight for a Bane. Or the Ribbon, rather. The Ribbon. Absolutely the Ribbon. Okay, so let's just move on to talking about the Warframe and what we are modding here on this build, and survivability and all that stuff for like little basic stuff. Bits on Oraxia. Okay. Oraxia's passive. Oraxia's passive is really interesting. When you wall latch, you get 8 seconds of invisibility. 8 seconds is a pretty long time. And if you factor in the invulnerability from Shield Gate, you can prop this with ease often. Wall latching sucks. Let's make that easier, and let's use Oraxia's fourth. This makes the passive something that is so easy to keep up, it's insane. If you press your roll button on Oraxia while in her fourth, you are a spider. You shoot a web. You can grapple to walls, and you stick to those walls until you press jump. It's incredible, guys. Or until you press dash again. Or pull yourself to something else. You can keep this up so easily. So easily. But let's talk about the other amazing fourth thing that your fourth is doing for your kits. And especially survivability. Not only is it going to make it easier to keep up your passive, it's going to be easier to stay alive in general. This ability has a health multiplier. Our base health is 1500. Press my fourth, it's 5500. That is a lot of health. I mod health on this build just because I like to take advantage of everything a Warframe has up to offer. I love how I say this, and then on Volt I took off his fourth and didn't use Capacitance and used Evade. Boring. But I like to take advantage of that health tanking. So in lower level content, and like lower level I say, anything into the early thousands, I can just turn my brain off, and I can just shoot at people. And then once I get into higher level content, just keeping up invisibility. And I'm completely fine with no issues. That's amazing. What else is amazing? If you don't understand how Oraxia's fourth works, Oraxia's fourth, the main thing it's doing, you look bottom right, it is imbuing my weapon with toxin damage. Kind of like Toxin Lash, except a little different. And it also allows you to have that crazy interaction with acid shells, where you're boosting the damage of it with this ability. So we want to build really high ability strength, and right here we are at 101% extra damage. with guaranteed status and increased damage on wall latch. So if I shoot from up here, we're going to be doing double. Let's show off what that looks like. You should definitely see it on the acid shells explosion here. Go and do that there. Yeah, you guys can absolutely see that increased damage from acid shells. Taking out those enemies a little bit easier there. There you go. Okay. Really awesome stuff there. Really awesome stuff. That is where we're getting this crazy interaction and taking advantage of like that septuple dip with the banes and all that crap. But the other really awesome thing that the 4 is doing is it has an explosion radius. This allows us to cascade a little bit easier than Toxic Lash. It's not as much damage, but it allows it to cascade a little bit easier. So it's a trade-off, and you're also getting a little bit better survivability in kit than Saren. You're also not getting like corrosive damage on your weapons with the 1 augment. So like there's definitely a lot of trade-offs when using Oraxia, but I also think there's a lot of really fun things with Oraxia, and her kit feels a little bit more polished because it's newer. Saren's, we're not going to compare Warframes, but yeah. Okay, let's move on to the actual build portion because that segment was really long, and I also wanted to kind of keep it short. But let's try to blast through this. So, Archon Shards, as Kai said with the Archon Shards, gonna need these. Not need, should have, definitely should have. Do what you can. Don't have to be Tauforged. Do what you can. If you do not want a casting speed shard and you're fine with the base casting speed, don't use this. Build more Toxin. Okay, the build. Summoner's Wrath. Summoner's Wrath is multiplicative damage increase, like Roar. 1.75 damage increase to companions. And summons. Araxia's 3 will mark enemies, and when those enemies die, which is pretty easy with this build, to just kill them with the 3 because we have the increased toxin damage, they will spawn Scuttlers. These are companions and summons. They do a lot of damage. R2 is amplifying that damage because it is damage vulnerability. When we throw R2, it is going to do a guaranteed toxin status effect. With Archon continuity, it's going to be a guaranteed corrosive status effect, which means we're increasing damage. And the Scuttlers are also doing the same thing. They also have impact damage they can be doing. So really good to have Archon continuity on this build. So that's kind of 2 mods explained and why we're using them. I'd absolutely use this because then you're getting to take advantage of all of Araxia's kit, and this is a great killing tool. Another cool thing about Araxia's net, you can have up to 3 of these at once, so range is not so important for this. As long as you're like above neutral, you're gonna be fine, but you can spread them out and have large coverage because of that. We have 16 meters on this one. We are building range with Cunning Drift and Stretch on this build. For multiple reasons. Silken Stride's explosion. I guess the max radius we can grapple from, but that's not really that important. But also to increase our webbed embrace range. So that's just nice to have. But mainly the main thing that we're aiming for is that explosion radius buff. The max explosion radius you can get from this is 10 meters. If you guys want to mod more range, you absolutely can. That's going to be up to you guys. You can change around some stuff. Whatever works for you guys. I would probably take off Vitality, if anything. Next, moving on to Blind Rage. Blind Rage, obviously super important for this 4th ability. It's also going to buff your little companion dudes and increase your damage vulnerability with your web. It's also going to increase what Elemental Ward is doing. Elemental Ward's actually pretty interesting. This is giving us a little bit of armor. That damage multiplier is going to be the damage multiplier of the cold status effects. Not like multiplying the damage that you do, but the little cold status effects that get shot out. And its ability strength is going to increase the status chance of those little cold status effects that get shot out. So need ability strength for this. Because of that, we're also running Umbral Intensify. This is boosting up our ability strength quite a lot. And we are also running Arcane Kamiyasato. Why are we using this instead of Augmented? Personal preference. The movement speed boost for companions is really incredible, and taking advantage of that with our 3rd ability is awesome, and also keeping up the 60% is really not that hard. Pretty much every single time I cast an ability, I feel like it's up as long as I have my companions out. So yeah, that's nice. And then we're also using Arcane Guardian. As you guys can see, Oraxia has really low base armor. So supplementing that with an Arcane that gives like a flat amount is really awesome. You guys don't need this. You guys don't need this health tanking stuff. If you guys just want to use invisibility on her, you absolutely can. It's going to free up so many mods. You can take off this, you can take off this, and you can take off this. And that's just going to let you guys build more strength, more range, or whatever. We're using Prime Flow and Equilibrium. That goes without explanation, really. This is used on pretty much every build I show off if it has 45% efficiency, and sometimes on builds without that. At least some variation of this. Prime Flow, obviously to increase our energy max so we can cast more abilities and be spammy with them. And Equilibrium to manage our energy. Umbral Vitality is boosting Umbral Intensify on this, so that is why we're using it. And it is also increasing our base health, which then gets multiplied by our fourth, which does scale with ability strength. We're using Adaptation for even further increased damage reduction. And like I said, this can... Oh, no, that was on one of my other 73 takes. This does take us into the low thousands when it comes to health tanking, so it's really nice. And yeah, this is the build. There's not really too much to talk about. We're just gonna let it kind of talk for itself in gameplay. I hope it kind of makes sense with the little showcase I just did. But let's move on to our weapon of choice. Weapon of choice is going to be the Kuva Sobek. Element doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is modding toxin damage on this. You are going to see that I have a Riven. Rivens don't matter. If you can get one, awesome. They're still not too expensive for the Sobek for some reason. If you can get one, awesome. I would try to get Toxin on it because that's going to be your increase for Toxin Lash and for your fourth ability. Because they do scale, and Acid Shells does scale with Toxin mods, so try to get that going. Right here, I would replace this with a Bane. We're using Galvanized Savvy. Not really important, actually. Just to help out with my base kill time, because our actual kills are going to be coming from Acid Shells. Shotgun Barrage just to make it a little bit more comfortable. Multi-shot doesn't scale with Acid Shells, so that doesn't matter either. So really all you need is just like base damage and like Toxin. We are using just flat Toxin on this build. You don't need to. You can even build Viral. Like I said, it's the thing. You don't need to have Toxin on your shotgun. You just need the mods with Toxin on them. It's just going to take the Toxin damage mods. I know that might not make a lot of sense, but like you can build Viral and still take advantage from it. It's just we are using Toxin just for kind of fitting the theme of the build, and so we can take advantage of Primary's Blight, which is easier to keep up because this is just going to be kept up like on shot, basically. We're using Galvanized Acceleration as well, and obviously Acid Shells. If you guys want an Acid Shells explanation, it's right there, except that 45% enemy max health is done before armor math. So against higher level enemies, it's not 45% max health, and the way that we're buffing that is with Toxin Lash, or for us, Silken Stride, and with the Toxin mods. Okay. Let's move on. The Sicarus. So something weird with Oraxia. Let's show this with another Incarnon pistol. Oraxia, when in her fourth, whenever you use an Incarnon, they aren't going to inherit the toxin damage, as you guys can see, bottom right. Well, not true for every weapon. And the Sicarus is one of those. The Sicarus is a weapon that can take advantage of that toxin damage in the... Did they fix this? No way. No freaking way. They fixed it. It may be like a not in sim thing. We're gonna see in gameplay, but I was literally using this last night and it was working. I'd be devastated if this literally just got fixed. We'll see. That was an interaction. This thing worked in Silken Stride, but other weapons didn't. Here's my build. Just going for Viral Heat. Run what you want on this. If you want to run a Bane, you can. If you want to just run prime heated charge right here, you can. Really, my damage bonuses from my Rivens are not going to be that incredible. Just as a little warning, like Rivens really aren't needed. But Sikaris Rivens are cheap, so, and its dispo's pretty high. And if you have the Incarnon, I'd totally go for it. If you have the plat. Here are my Evos. Reason why I'm running plus reload speed is it does affect the speed in which you can change to your Incarnon. Other stuff, kind of self-explanatory. And then the Spinnerex, the thing that is kind of making this build happen and the crazy interaction with Cold Elemental Ward. Have to have melee influence to get this going. And then we have this 10% chance for enemies to burst for each stack of Toxin. Status effect applied to them, spreading Toxin damage. It's awesome. It's awesome. Status duration does work on this. Elemental damage mods scale this. Flat damage mods scale this. And that's why we're using this as well. And we have this, which you can replace with the Bane, or you can replace this with a Bane. Okay. That's kind of everything. Xeneric. Do need to show Diriga. The main thing that we have triggering this interaction with Cold Elemental Ward to then inherit electricity is our Coil. So throw that on. Diriga. Absolutely take advantage of this. Most people just use Electro Pulse. But I've got Arc Coil up here up front. Awesome. Good stuff. Guardian, Momentous Bond, Synth Deconstruct, so we can get some more orbs, which is really good with Equilibrium. We've got Vacuum here. Self-explanatory. Making sure we're keeping up our companion abilities here. Accelerated Deflection, just for a little bit of shield gating and shield regeneration. Types survivability on Diriga. We have Tenacious Bond here. For that final crit multiplier, and prime regen for keeping our buddy up, and this is also for keeping our little buddy up. Okay. Companion weapon. Here is my modding hierarchy. Here's my statuses I'm getting. This is all just going to be stuff that Arc Coil gets to take advantage of, and we are using status duration. We are also using Point Strike for that 50% crit chance, so we can take advantage of Tenacious Bond. I think this is it for the build. I hope this made sense. If you want a further explanation on what's really going on here, read this in the comments. Watch Kai's video. He's definitely going to explain it a little bit more concise and in better ways than I can, even in 8 minutes, which is just really incredible. Great scripted content there. Not me. Not me. This is D1 Yat. Okay. But let's get into the gameplay. Let's do it. Let's show off Oraxia on Titan here. Once again, with no Bane, because I'm stupid. Don't replicate this. I'm just going to show off stuff with no Banes, because I know a lot of people don't use them. That consensus is changing. I feel like more people use them than don't use them, but hey, I'm still on that boat of like, I'm an idiot. I don't use Banes. I know so much about this game, but still be using like no Banes. That status damage mod saved my life. See if we can get it up here. There we go. As you guys can see, not only do we have the initial explosion from our 4th ability going off with that explosion radius, but you have that secondary green explosion coming from the Spinnerex. So it's like a double explosion of awesomeness combined with acid shells. We shot like 1 bullet and just killed 80 enemies. Guys, what's not to love about this? It's so interesting, so cool. And then like we can get into like how Oraxia can lock down a room. Like let's put our webs down here. Throw our 3 with these little suckers over here. And look, this will absolutely kill these enemies too, which is crazy, just because we have those Archon Shards. I mean, like, look what's still going on over here in this room. I don't even understand. It's still occurring. Go ahead and get our 1 back up here. It's not really something you have to think about. I just wanted to show it off in that first shot, like how crazy of interactions you can get if you want to wait for your influence to be up. If not, I mean, as you can see, it's still going off right there. Get some more spider buddies going. Look at that. Look at that damage just from casting your 3. Your 3 can kill. That's so cool. Get our little spider dudes out. That extra movement speed is going to help them haul. Look at this. Look at them chase them down, dude. And look, they're gonna demolish them. Yeah, get a web down. And let's just kill him even quicker there. Great stuff. Love Oraxia's abilities. Love the way she feels. As you guys can see, survivability is uber levels of comfort for just any content that you're going to see in this game. And if you want to take it to level cap, you know, you got this. We can show what it's like to kind of keep up the invisibility for a little bit. It's extremely easy. Notably, you can wall latch vertically on Oraxia, which is like the coolest thing ever. Like you can wall latch to the roof. I love her. She's amazing. But as you guys can see, it's really easy to keep up the invisibility. It is something you have to think about, but when you're at level cap, you kind of really have to think anyways, a little bit. A lot more than regular content in this game. So, you know, it is what it is. It's like, it's a little bit less mindless than other frames, but hey, I think that's more fun. Like, I'm not gonna show Revenant. I'm not comparing this to Revenant levels of like ease. Like, it's definitely, you gotta think about it a little bit. God forbid I have to use my brain on a video game. But shout out that Revenant build. That Revenant build was super fun. Thank you guys for the awesome support on that too. What I wasn't really expecting was that support on that Corvex video. That was super interesting. Also that comment about what is going on with Corvex's fourth, which is something that isn't even detailed properly on the wiki, with that ramp effect and how maybe initial damage can be worse in the long run. But I'm like, is that a number that we even theoretically ever see? Because I've seen plenty of level cap content with Roar, or just with the Orange Shards, and even without Roar and running Armor Strip, and it's like, they're fine. The only thing that they have trouble with is Overguard. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it a theoretical thing? I got a message back on the guy from the guy on Reddit who found that information or did the math or whatever, made the claim. I still need to dig into that a little bit more myself, because I don't even think, like, it all just seems so like hypothetical. I mean, in the sim, I don't know, it's gonna be hard to test. Like, against mixed battle groups, that's when not running multiplicative damage might be better, because it's going to allow the beam to ramp up, which can allow you to kill enemies with higher health and lower health faster. But if it's a bunch of equal health enemies, then the Roar should be stronger. I don't know. It's so weird, because like sometimes you can leave like 2 enemies left on like 50% HP and they just won't die. But like my thing is, in practice and in gameplay, more enemies will just come and replace those enemies that you killed. So like you should be fine. And I feel like killing those trash mobs quicker and getting out that big damage against those big enemies occasionally, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Not an idiot. I just think maybe a lot of people are, I guess, thinking about it wrong. And that guy is like literally a genius. That or it's like too awesome. Like it might be like too hypothetical of a thing. But yeah, shout out to that guy for having that knowledge and sharing that with us. And also shout out to the guy who actually made the post in the first place for finding me on Reddit. That was cool. He got back to me within like an hour and a half. So yeah, and I'll post on that. I just haven't had the time to add that to the post. I will. I mean, guys, Oraxia. I mean, you guys saw the amazing time to kill on the Acolyte. Riven not really actually adding too much to that, as you guys saw. We're actually losing our highest damage value on the weapon with this negative damage. I mean, with this minus impact Riven. But yeah. This has been Oraxia, guys. Thank you so much for watching. A little bit shorter on this video. I also think that's because of a little vague with explanations. Hopefully not. Hopefully it makes sense the way that this is working. Your cold elemental ward has a chance every single time that you get shot. Not a chance. It will always do it. Release a cold wave. But there is a chance that that does status. And when that does status, it's going to put a cold proc on them. But that isn't the part that matters. It's more just like the fact that it is doing melee damage. And once they do that melee damage, that means your Okay, your Sentinel can inherit that melee damage and add onto it by adding an electricity proc, and because of that happening, you get the chance of proccing melee influence. I'm like wording this so poorly, but yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll just click through the builds one more time real quick. Oraxia.
Ready for action.
There you go. Sobek. There you go. Sakaris. There you go. Oh my gosh. You know what we didn't even test? Oops. 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 Let's go test this in gameplay real quick. Let's see if the Sakaris got patched. I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna have to say probably ignore on the video chapter. It did get patched. I know it worked before. So let's go ahead and go into the one. Switch to the Sakaris. Test this out real quick. Sorry guys. Very sorry about this. Forgot to test it actually in gameplay. It did get patched. Wow. It got patched. Oh man. Devastating. Okay. Well, that's alright. Yeah, there were like 2 secondaries that worked with this, but not anymore. That's alright. So just disregard the Sakaris interaction. That's alright. Is what it is. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Maybe video tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to be working on a paper, so we'll see. But if you guys are wanting to see some Plague Star information and prep guides, I would absolutely just go ahead and check my community tab and watch that Gaz video I posted. I don't think I can do any better than that, so go ahead and check that out, guys. And yeah, have an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.